Hello, my name is CF Claire. I'm not new to writing, but I am new to making YouTube stuff. So I thought I'd join this YouTube author newbie tag. I write paranormal and fantasy romance. I write fantasy with heavy romance, and I also write middle grade fantasy. And I'm going off of the questions from Jenna Streety's Authortube 2.0 tag questions. So let's jump into that. The first question, what is your book's pitch? I'm working on 2 projects at the moment, and I wrote out a little pitch for each of them because I feel like just the log line is not really enough to go off of. So my main project is a interconnected standalone series of small town shifter romance kind of stuff. So that's Project Chance. It's a spicy shifter romance, sort of reminiscent of if Kresley Cole wrote more contemporary, like low magic shifter romance. And there's a mating contract, there's a super fun friend group who'll each get their own books, small town vibe kinds of stuff, motherhood, shifters, having to deal with being at odds with their inner animal, and a funny vibe between 2 very closed off and like dominant sort of personality type people. So there's lots of sparks, lots of fun dialogue. I've written the first draft. I did my little analysis of it. What's working, what needs to be changed, and it's resting for a few weeks now while I do my B project, which is Project Conjurer. It's like similar to the high fantasy and politics of the Golden Compass meets the adventure and like kid friend group kinds of stuff going on in Percy Jackson. It's going to be set in a world that's like filled with magic, where the main character is able to change the world not with magic, but through the power of love, because love is the most powerful magic of all. And through the process of doing that, like showcase the innocence of children, not as something that makes them weak and needing to be protected, but that deals with that while also emphasizing the strength of innocence and the strength of children, and how catalyzing, inspiring, motivating that innocence can be on older generations. And like the log line, as far as I can share, that's not with spoilers, is that a courageous young boy searches for the truth about the disappearance of his father. The second question, if I was a book, how would I pitch myself? I really had to think about that. So it would be something like a stay-at-home mom of 2 kids finally feels in motion to achieve a lifelong calling of being an author, but struggles to have it all and find the right balance between being present as a mom to young children, being an avid gardener verging on urban homesteader, being an obsessive writer who struggles to disconnect from writing in order to do all of that stuff, and knowing that people who think that they can have it all are fooling themselves in some way, but also that I might be able to do it all. The third question, what do you usually write? I usually write romance. I usually write fantasy romance with a dual point of view in like a close third-person past tense narrative, reminiscent of Lois McMaster Bujold, who is my favorite author. So writing middle grade is like new for me, but fantasy, definitely, always in some way. And there's always romance, for sure. Number 4, what's something you will never write? Thriller. I get freaked out easy. I'll never do it. What is your goal for starting an Authortube channel? Marketing is the goal, because I hate telling people what to do. I hate telling people like, oh, look at like look what I'm doing. You should care about that. It's like antithetical to who I am as a person, but like obviously if you're going to self-publish in any way, like you have to market. It's just like so I'm sort of dreading that aspect of it, and I'm hoping that like if I've been doing YouTube videos for a while and maybe some people find them and care about it and then want to actually read the stories I've been working on, then like that would be my audience. Like, I don't know. However, that's the goal. The reason that I am actually making these videos, though, is I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm around a 4.5-year-old all day, and I've got a 6-year-old daughter who like just is going to kindergarten this year. Like there's a lot of young kids stuff going on at my house. I really am looking forward to like being part of a community and maybe like meeting other writer moms or like writer parents, you know, and connecting with other humans who are a little bit older. As well as I feel like I've been sort of making like a lot of progress on who I am as a writer and like methods and approaches, things I've learned, and there are a lot of things I've learned that I'd like to talk about on YouTube because it's the kind of stuff that like I would be interested in hearing other people talk about that are maybe like pretty specific that I don't see being talked about. Like, how do you create a extremely complex trilogy if you're a huge outliner? Number 6, what made you want to start writing? I've always wanted to write ever since I can remember. I have no idea, but it's gotten stronger and stronger from like, oh, I'd love to do this as like a dream job to if I don't do it, I will fail as who I am meant to be in this world because I am a writer. So it's very high stakes. It's existential. Question 7, what is your publishing path? It's mixed. So for all of my romance novels, I am planning to self-publish on Kindle Unlimited. I think they'll do well there. I think there's a market for that. If I figure out how to market, I think it will do well there. However, for my middle grade fantasy and for my adult fantasy with romance, I would really like to traditionally publish. I don't know how realistic that is. I know, obviously, they have to publish some things, but I know it's also so subjective to, like, what the market is at the moment, and I mostly seem to just write series, and I know that's really hard to sell, and it seems like what publishers want are standalones with series potential, and that's just, like, not at all what I'm doing. Like, the artistic integrity demands that they would be series, so I don't know logistically how plausible that is. That would be ideal because I don't think I could market them well enough. I feel like fantasy is harder to market in self-publishing. I don't know. Maybe that's my own thing. Number 8, what content do you bring to the Authortube table? I'm a heavy plotter. I feel like there's a higher ratio of like pantsers and discovery writers on Authortube that I've come across, and I am not that. I am an outliner, I'm a plotter, I am a methodological plotter, which I'll link in the description. Ellen Brock, who is a YouTube content creator, and she is a editor as her job, has a video on like spectrums of, you know, from pantser to plotter, and that's where I came across the term. I very much like structure and methodology, and I find a lot of creativity within those, and so a lot of my content would have to do with ways you can use that to plot and plan and address pacing and all sorts of things like that. So that kind of content, as well as vlogs primarily. I've been doing vlogs on Project Chance about like the outlining, the first draft stage, like how writing the first quarter went, problems I encountered, what I did to address those problems, you know, and then through the second, third, fourth quarters, and sort of that like, here I am doing this chunk of the book, and what am I encountering that's a problem, and what am I doing to fix it, that sort of thing. So probably more of that sort of stuff, more hopefully shorter videos just talking about very specific parts of plotting extremely like complex stories and trilogies and ways to help break it down and make it easier to approach. Number 9, what is your biggest writing struggle? The literal biggest struggle is the time. Finding the time to dedicate to it, because I'm, you know, between being a mom and like partner and all sorts of different things that pull at you. However, in the writing process, the most difficult thing has been that I tend to get these very clear ideas of what I want stories to be and then struggle to figure out how to take that idea that's like in your head and translate that to the page, because there will be like complex themes that come with the main character, and it's like, okay, but how do you take a complex theme and like write out what the plot is? Plot is my biggest weakness as a writer, I think, because plot is sort of events, and I don't care about the events. I care about the character change that happens because of the events. So then it's like sort of retroactively fitting my character's arc to what are the plot events that would like spark that stuff. So finding a way to make the plot relevant to the character arcs that I want to have and the themes I want in my books. Number 10, what's your best writing skill? Probably like fun dialogue. Number 12, if you're new to AuthorTube, what is your biggest AuthorTube question? I don't think I have any. Number 13, are you looking for any new channels to follow, betas, CPs, or other types of writer buddies? If so, tell us what you're looking for. I'm always looking for new channels to follow, for sure. I will need beta readers for my romance novel. Fall or winter of 2025, but I'm not like actively looking because it's still like quite a ways off. So around then, hopefully actually like really looking. But for right now, I'm just like, yeah, I'm looking for more channels to follow. I'd love to follow other people who also write like romance, high, or like middle grade, or fantasy, or are also like parents specifically also, or plotters, or like are writing series, or make fun writing tools like this. But I just like, in general, also just like everyone pretty much, because I really enjoy how everyone has a different process, and I think it's interesting to see, and sometimes that just like makes you think of something that you could do yourself, and that's fun. And number 14, what are you most excited for during the new fresh start on AuthorTube? I'm just excited to connect with other humans. That's kind of what it comes down to. I'm home with kids all day. It's so nice listening to other AuthorTubers as I'm like out in the garden picking vegetables, you know, like it's February right now, but like that's last year, that's what I was doing. Or like as I'm like cooking dinner, just like listening to what someone's talking about for how they're revising their midpoint of their book, you know. I think that's super fun, and I'm excited to possibly be one of those people that someone else listens to as they cook their dinner or whatever. And maybe someone gets something out of listening to what I do. So that kind of community aspect. Some other things about me are we have 2 cats. This is Gandalf. He's 2 years old. He's a handful. And we have an 8-year-old cat, Babs, who only cares about my husband, which is too bad, but at least she cares about someone. My husband and I are both Capricorns. That's kind of funny. And I've got an Aries moon. I'm very into gardening. We live in an urban city in Massachusetts, and so we've got like a fairly small backyard, but I do a lot of gardening, and I have more plans than ever to preserve stuff, creeping closer to like partial self-sufficiency sort of stuff. I have family members who are involved in the permaculture world, and that's something I believe in very strongly. I would love to get a piece of land and have a great big permaculture installation there. Do some Zone 5B food forest stuff. And I'm just over here making my little videos. I'm going to keep making them, and check them out if you are inclined, and I'm going to keep looking for other people to follow too. I hope everyone's writing's going well, and I'll see you in another video.